Let me interrupt you.
Sure.
We do have some breaking news here. The NBA has responded. The NBA season, following tonight's action, has officially been suspended for the time being. Let me read the statement here from the NBA. The NBA announced that a player on the Utah Jazz has preliminary been tested positive for COVID-19. The test result was reported shortly prior to the tip-off of tonight's game between the Jazz and Oklahoma City Thunder at Chesapeake Energy Arena. At that time, tonight's game was canceled. The affected player was not in the arena. The NBA is suspending gameplay following the conclusion of tonight's schedule of games until further notice. The NBA will use this hiatus to determine next steps for moving forward in regard to the coronavirus pandemic. This is the world we're living in now, and this is obviously to protect everyone involved in the game, including the fans. And this is crazy times here, guys.
Yeah, I lived through a lot of crazy things, but this, and again, it's just something where that we got to take it serious. It has hit home. A player, something that we've been hoping and praying not to happen. A player has tested positive, and you think of all the contact that players, the people that contact people come into, players do, and in these arenas, and among the thing I'm thinking about, among his teammates,
right,
and then all the people they come in contact with and their families, and they've been on that charter flying in, and all the people today in the hotel, and it's just, man, it's surreal.
Yeah, the NBA ecosystem is interconnected. You're talking about charter flights, locker rooms, hotels.
Yeah.
And, Sam, a lot of teams use similar, hotels on the road.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to start tracing steps. And where have the Utah Jazz been in what, the last 14 days?
Exactly.
To backtrack
who
they've played,
who he's been in contact with.
Rudy is from France. So has he had someone visit?
Don't know.
It could be any number of things. We don't know all the details yet. But if the league has taken the step to suspend games until further notice, that should be an indication to everybody exactly how serious an issue this is.
But they're not sure.
Because they just don't have the tools in this moment to know exactly how far this thing might have spread. And if you're listening to the doctors and the mental or the health experts I've heard talking about it, this is a virus that spreads so rapidly among inner circles. Mm-hmm. So that means if Rudy Gobert contracts it, there's 2 or 3 people in his inner circle, whether it's teammates, whoever, that could contract it, and then it spreads from there.
Well, think about this, Sekou. After games, before games, we're all in close proximity. We're hugging each other. We're in a tight-knit group all the time.
Yeah.
And it's nothing for guys to sweat on each other, to sneeze on it, because we're with each other all the time, and you just don't think about it. And now the fact that one guy has tested positive, and then you think about all the people that he interacts with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, it's especially when they're on the road. In Utah, you go back 14 days and start looking at these things, man. It's a lot of people that he's been in contact with.
Extreme duress.
Yeah, I think that was one of the concerns about how many hospitals, if everybody goes at the hospital at once.
Address, yes.
And then the final major story that is breaking tonight, as if those 2 stories weren't enough for what's going on globally here regarding the coronavirus pandemic, the NBA suspending its season after this is a guy well known throughout the league, all-star big man Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz. The NBA deciding to suspend its season. I'll read the statement here. The NBA suspending gameplay following the conclusion of tonight's schedule of games until further notice. The NBA will use this hiatus to determine next steps for moving forward in regard to the coronavirus pandemic. Keith, Jen, this is in addition to news that the NCAA is going to be playing March Madness. The men's and women's tournaments are going to be played without fans in the stands. It's really just going to be, close friends and family members and those associated closely with each individual school.
But the games are being played right now all over the country. I mean, things are happening. I mean, you want to go watch a Lightning game? It's right down here. But you know what? You have to think twice now about whether you want to put yourself in that situation.
But for a major professional sports organization like the NBA to suspend games is enormous. Incredible. And really goes to show where we are today. So
and what comes next? I mean, we're looking at the Olympics down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's down the road, but it's closer than you think as we continue
Right.
to
Here in the
see
Tampa
what
Bay
happens.
area, we have WrestleMania. That is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. People come from all over the world to congregate and celebrate for their love of wrestling for the WWE. Is that in danger here in the Tampa Bay area? Will there be scrutiny and pressure on WWE leadership to cancel WrestleMania here in Tampa Bay? There's so many events that we can point to
So
over
for
the next few
Disney, I
months.
mean, look at Disney, Busch Gardens. You look at all of these theme parks. I mean, we talked about these the other day. You say, well, you don't need to travel, go internationally. Have you been to Disney?
Yes, I went to Disney this past Saturday.
It's
and
international.
It was packed. It was a very international crowd. Yeah. And
They're
you
right
find
there,
yourself
yeah.
thinking twice that, all of these people, it's so almost impossible to make an accounting of where all of these people have been and the people they've been in contact with, where they've been. And so this is just a situation of epic scale.
And that's where the hiatus will start. You could see right here the reaction from Mark Cuban when he got the news looking at his phone. And then he went and started to discuss it with members of the Mavericks organization on their bench.
He also alerted the officials that are in charge of this game. So the officials are getting told right now. Is he going to go talk to Mark? Yep.
I'm Scott Van Pelt here at ESPN. This astounding and unprecedented story continues to evolve. At halftime with Adrian Wojnarowski, I suggested that we would speak to him soon. I had no idea that it would be this soon. He has just tweeted within the past 2 minutes that the NBA is suspending the season. I say that understanding that as we speak, the game in Dallas is continuing. Ryan Rucco in Dallas, the game is continuing. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, Scott, right now the game is continuing. There was a conference amongst officials during this last time out, but the action continues at least for now. It seemed, based on Doris and I just, perusing the tweets from Woj at the timeout, Scott, that these games tonight are going to finish, and then that's where the hiatus will start. You could see right here the reaction from Mark Cuban when he got the news looking at his phone, and then he went and started to discuss it with members of the Mavericks organization on their bench.
He also alerted the officials that are in charge of this game. So they are aware of that as well, Ryan.
We are obviously in completely uncharted territories, and we are going to get a little more information now from Adrian Wojnarowski, he is with Scott Van Pelt right now, so let's get back to the studio, guys.
Ryan, thanks. And Woj, I turn to you. What can you tell me? How'd this happen?
Well, Rudy Gobert has tested positive for the coronavirus. That was learned in Oklahoma City prior to that game between the Jazz and the Thunder. Right now, the Thunder and Jazz, I'm told, are both quarantined in that arena, and the NBA has made the decision. They have just announced that they are suspending play, finishing after tonight's games. They're going to let tonight's games finish, but starting tomorrow, NBA play is suspended, and then the league is going to use that hiatus to decide their next steps, how they'll go forward. But this is the last night of NBA games for the foreseeable future.
And Woj, again, just for those that perhaps are just joining us, just to give a Cliff's Notes of what happened tonight in Oklahoma City, the Thunder and the Jazz were on the floor, as Royce Young had reported. They were moments away from tip-off. Thunder doctor came sprinting from the locker room. If we're connecting the dots, perhaps they only learned then that Gobert had tested positive. Is that what caused the game to be suspended? I'm sorry to put you in a position to talk about something I don't know if you know about, but is that a reasonable summation?
Scott, it's still unclear to me the sequence of events before the game in Oklahoma City, but it became clear that he had preliminary, and that was the word the league used, preliminarily tested positive for the coronavirus. And right now, both teams remain in the building. They remain in quarantine at the arena, I'm told.
This is a remarkable situation, and I realize it is truly changing by the moment. When we say hiatus, is there any sense of how long a period that would be, given that there seems to be so much uncertainty about how long a period one would have to actually be, in a sense, quarantined before you'd know whether or not he or she was positive?
There's no sense of how long, Scott. You know, and one point that people were making with the league, with teams, because there had been so little testing, even up until the last few days in this country, they didn't have a handle within this league about the potential for this. And now, as a player has tested positive for it, the ripple effects that has on his own team, on other teams, you know, clearly this is, as you said, Scott, uncharted territory. And there were several owners on a call tonight with Commissioner Adam Silver who suggested the idea of let's just take a hiatus instead of playing games without fans in the arena. The commissioner was ready tomorrow to move toward games being played without fans, but that changed tonight with Rudy Gobert's positive test for the coronavirus.
All right, Woj, thank you so much for the very latest. Again, if you're just joining us, Rudy Gobert testing positive for the coronavirus. As a result, the NBA will be suspending the season, a hiatus, at the conclusion of tonight's play, which leaves this very surreal scene playing out. A game between Dallas. On the other side of this break, we'll continue from Dallas. I beg your pardon.